Hindsight is a funny thing. Back when this comic book was made, there was no such thing as an Omega level mutant. Now that we're going over this comic and today's standards, there's not just one Omega level mutant. There's 3 of them on this team. I mean, this team is full of heavy hitters because the 2 that aren't Omega level mutants are still pretty powerful in their own right. Like, if Professor Xavier was Vin Rames from Pulp Fiction, he'd pretty much be saying,
I'ma call a couple of hard pipe hitting
mutants. We'll go ahead and end that with mutants. And 9 times out of 10, they will get the job done. But this is the 10th time in this book, and they're going up against Legion. So as Dan Cole would say, this fight, it's not even close. My name is Dory, and this is SCM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of Legion's Quest with Uncanny X-Men number 320. So the story starts off with Storm, and she has all kinds of lightning around her. And not trying to insult your intelligence, but if you didn't know, she is one of the Omega level mutants. Then when you turn to the next page, you see she's using that lightning and she's hitting Legion with them and is doing nothing to him. So the rest of the X-Men Gold team is Jean Grey, Omega level mutant, Bobby Drake, Iceman, Omega level mutant, Psylocke, a heavy hitter, and Bishop, another heavy hitter. And Legion is paying no attention to him whatsoever. So Iceman built like this ice fortress around him and Psylocke to try to keep them safe. Psylocke wants to go out to try to help, and Iceman's pretty much like, to do what? Say some bad words to him? We better stay in here for right now. Jean is asking Bishop to use his power to try to siphon off some of the energy that Legion's getting off, but that doesn't work. So pretty much the only thing they have left is for Storm to try to use her power, and hopefully it can stop Legion, but as we can see, it's not doing a thing to him. So Storm is thinking to herself, when we got here, we thought we could deal with Legion, but we were just fooling ourselves. And then we cut to when they first got here. So as they're getting off the plane at the Israel International Airport, you got Bobby Drake talking to Bishop. Bishop's kind of like not understanding what the hell's going on. And Bobby's like, hey, you know, we're in the Twilight Zone when the Israel National Army and the PLO are working together. Now, it's been 30 years since this comic book has come out, and the best way for me to describe that statement is like the Rebel Army in Star Wars and the Empire are working together because there's a threat that neither one of them can handle by themselves. And of course, they're mutants, so everybody hates them. 30 years later, nothing's really changed. But the reason why they're not being attacked or being told to go home is because David Haller's mother is the actual ambassador of Israel, so they gotta pretty much listen to her. So she's meeting with him and she's filling them in on what happened to X Factor. If you don't know, all you gotta do is check out Legion Quest Part 1, cards right there, links in the description. She also explains what Legion's been up to and why they were brought in, because he built this dome-like structure that nothing can penetrate. They tried tanks, they tried fighter jets, they tried everything, and all they get back is pretty much hurt or killed soldiers. And then they talk to the guy that's in charge of the operation, and he goes, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is like a 35. So then he's like, we're going to have to look at all options, including nuclear. So obviously, David's mom takes offense to that and is like, no, you're not going to do that because this is my son. We're going to figure out a way to bring him back. And then he's also like, well, I don't know why they're here. And then Storm's like, it's okay. We're used to this. We've dealt with David the most out of anybody here. So if anybody's going to get through to him, it's us. And also David's mom is explaining how he's more powerful than he's ever been, because ever since he came out of his coma, there's no more personalities. It's just one personality and he has one single focus. So he's akin to a god, and she's not lying. But Storm's like, god or not, we need to go ahead and take care of it. So if anybody's going to get in there, it's going to be us. So then we switch back to inside the dome that David created, and Storm's like, look, you need to stop ignoring me. And David's like, oh, I can hear you. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just not listening to you. So then David's like, you know what? Let me show you something. And he uses power and grabs on the Storm. Storm's like, let me go. He's like, yeah, this works. You're going to be the first. So you should be excited. And then they just disappear. So the rest of the X-Men are like, what the hell is going on here? So pretty much in a nutshell, he figured out a way to use his power to be able to time travel back to the past. He takes Storm to the moment to where a fighter jet is pretty much going to crash and kill her mother. And he's like, you have a chance to change that. So then Storm starts flying as fast as she can to try to get to the fighter jet to try to redirect it. And then the moment she almost gets there, David takes her out of time. So now they're back in the present time in the spear. And Storm's like, that was a cruel illusion. And David was like, that wasn't an illusion. We were back in the past. And now that you know what I can do, I'm going to use this power and I'm going to change things. So the Bishop pretty much attacks him. David takes care of him. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you know, you can't beat me. You know, you can't do anything. So why would you do this? And then Iceman's like, that wasn't really an attack. It's more of a misdirection. And Iceman and Jean, the two Omega level mutants, use their power and actually hurt Legion. So the Storm's like, all right, while he's down, everybody getting the Blackbird. We need to get the hell out of here because we can't handle what he's about to do. And so they're trying to get out of there. And David pretty much appears on a Blackbird, like, where you guys think you're going? And then pretty much makes it crash. So then Jean is trying to reason with David because Jean's always trying to reason with somebody. And in a nutshell, he doesn't directly come out and say what he's going to do, but he kind of infers, and Jean and Storm kind of put two and two together, and it's like, yeah, he's about to go back in the past to try to change something with Professor Xavier. So Legion's about to dip, and Storm realizes what he's about to do, and she's like, all right, she has to think quickly. She's like, all right, Bishop, even though he failed to absorb all of Legion's power, he absorbed some of it, and she pretty much tells Psylocke to use her size to make a connection with Bishop that now also has a connection to David, so that when David does a jump, he takes them with him. And that's what happens. The whole team goes except for Jean. She uses her mental powers to anchor herself because somebody has to let the rest of the X-Men know what just happened. So she briefly starts talking to Charles mentally, and then she does what Jean always does back then. She passes out. So now we cut to the Shi'ar Empire, and you got Queen Lilandria. I believe I pronounced it right. She's pretty much sleeping, and that's the first time she's been able to sleep peacefully since Charles took back off and went back to Earth. To all my X-Men 97 fans, you guys know what I'm talking about. So she's awakened by like this big explosion, and we see Gladiator lying on the floor. Now, why that is a big deal? Because the Gladiator is like one of the closest things to Superman in Marvel Comics. So to knock him out, that's got to be somebody really, really, really tough or really strong. And we see it's Jaef. I think that's how to pronounce it. If I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure you guys will let me know. And he's like, look, I have an important message to give to you, and I didn't have time to get past your Watchmen. And she's like, well, what's so important that you had to knock out Gladiator and abandon your duties because you're in charge of protecting the Uncharted Crystal? Now, for those of you guys that don't understand the importance of the Uncharted Crystal, when this story takes place is in the 7th iteration of the universe. The 6th iteration, the bad guy there destroyed the Uncharted Crystal, which pretty much destroyed the multiverse. And when everything got restarted, it restarted to where it is right now. And also too, a nice little Easter egg, Gallon was an explorer in the 6th iteration. He wound up being able to survive the blast. He combined with Eternity of the 6th iteration of the universe and became Galactus. So he pretty much tells her that, look, I left my duties for the Uncharted Crystal because in a minute it won't matter because everything is about to come to an end. So we need to do something right now.